4:56 in the morning, man, and I'm up with y'all showing y'all a quantum immortality video. The theory that says you're still alive. Yes, we finna dive into that video right this moment, but I need everybody to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that share button ASAP because, baby, we can learn today. Yo, welcome, everybody. Welcome. Good morning, top of the morning. Shout out to everybody, man. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Everything 414 podcast. Y'all already know who I am. I am the host, the creator, the founder, Karnage Slaughter. You feel me? Hit that like button, hit that share button, because we diving into this video. I want y'all to know about quantum immortality. For those of y'all that don't know nothing about quantum immortality, we is finna dive into these TikTok-y videos, right? Where they talk about quantum immortality. And the theory around this quantum immortality is that they believe that they are still alive. Yes, a lot of them believe that they are still alive, that they died before and are still alive. Oh, tell me about it. That is one of the craziest things. So what we finna do is we finna dive right into this video, gang. Like I told y'all before, hit that like button, subscribe button, all the above, and let's get it.
I think I jumped timelines. Let's talk about it. This was a little over a year ago at this point. I want to say mid to late November. And I was going to visit a friend who lives in a town about 30 miles away. It's important to state that it was like unseasonably warm at the time, and I didn't even take a coat with me. It's also important to note that like every single day, I checked the weather and there was no snow or any kind of precipitation in the forecast. So I was surprised that evening after dark when on my way home, it began to snow. My main concern here was visibility because, like I said, it was unseasonably warm and I wasn't concerned about accumulation. But when I finally got to my exit and pulled off, while the ramp did not look slippery at all, it just looked damp like the highway had, as soon as I started to apply the brake, I began to slide. This is a fairly long exit ramp. I want to say like 200 yards long. And I didn't start applying the brake, as I never do, before I had gotten about halfway there. I was probably still going about 50 miles an hour at this point, and as soon as I started to slide, I knew that there would be trouble. Where 3 or 4 cars stopped at the stoplight at the end of the exit ramp, and my first concern was hitting one of them. What I should have done in this case was try to steer to the left, because to the left of the exit ramp, there really aren't any hazards. It's just grass, the grade is fairly flat, you know. But to the right, there are quite a lot of hazards. In no particular order, they are: 1, a giant wall of signs advertising different like restaurants and gas stations and stuff that you can find near the exit. 2, the grade of the ground is at a decline into a little embankment, so there is a risk of rolling. 3, a little further to the right, several yards, there's a swampy area. And 4, there is a smaller collection of signs at the end of the exit ramp. So as I'm sure you can guess, I go off the road. And at this point, a lot of things start racing through my head. My first concern is that I'm going to roll, because at this point, I'm at like a 45-degree angle. My second concern is that I'm going to hit that big bank of signs, because I went off the road not too far from it. And I thought, crap, I'm going to hit these signs going like 50 miles an hour, and that's going to be it. That's lights out. Like I said again, if I had rolled and continued rolling, I would have ended up in that swamp area. And even if by some miracle I miss these 3 hazards, there was still the risk of me hitting the exit ramp. And even aside from all of these things, there's still quite a bit of distance between myself and the cross street through the intersection. And yet somehow, in what felt like a second, I was through the intersection and on the cross street as though I had just turned right at the light. I remember my ears ringing really badly and what felt like a really great sense of pressure in my head. And granted, that could just be because of stress, right? Like, it was a really stressful situation, but nothing was so strong as the confusion. I was literally just sitting there. My car stopped in the middle of the road, and eventually other cars started slowing down behind me and started honking their horns, and it kind of like brought me back to reality, and I had to turn around because normally I would turn left at the stoplight.
Now, that gotta be the weirdest thing ever, right? It got to be, you know. And the reason I say that is because I'm like, yo, to even witness that or even remember that scenario, that scene, you know what I'm saying? That's different. You know, that's a different ball game. A lot of us ain't been through nothing like that, y'all. You know, you can't tell me with all your money on your last bidding tube pole, you can't tell me that you had experience like that. I know that's one of the scariest things that probably took place with her. And it's a lot of people that, have many near death experiences, or have these experiences where they feel like they died before and they came back to life, which one of the craziest is one of the craziest things, but at the end of the day, she said she rose, she could have hit the signs. She could have hit the signs. I had an experiment like that, man. Experience. I say not experiment because I wasn't experimenting anything, but an experience like that on the highway with me and my family. And it was like, it was raining that day, and I'm driving, and I just made like a statement, like, to my wife, like, hey, babe, we riding over the Milwaukee River, across Lake Michigan, we high in the air. And I said, hey, babe, what if somebody hit that wall right there and they went over? That's a long fall into that water, and then we said our little twos and fews. But at the end of the day, I kept driving and I ended up crashing. I was finna get off on the Burleigh exit, I think it was like high number Burleigh, upper area, like 80th, 90th. I'm finna take that exit, and next thing I know, I'm getting over in the right lane. And as I ease over, you feel me? I'm going like 55, 50. I ease over the car, the tire. I felt the tire slip. You feel me? It slips and then it just lose. You feel me? It just started veering. I'm talking about it started veering as if like I turned that way. It was one of the craziest things ever in life. It was quite spooky only because, I had my whole family with me. I had all my kids, my wife, we all in the car. And at that very moment, I started thinking like, damn, I said, Lord, I hope nobody dying here, because when we start veering, I knew we was finna hit something, and we smashed into the median, the wall, like, boom, and I grabbed my wife. She was in the passenger seat, so I rushed over and made sure she was straight, because I'm like, fuck, and at the end of the day, I'm like, everybody, hold on, grab something, you know what I'm saying? Like, lock in, because I knew it was finna be a devastating smack. Then we got cars coming behind us. So, my mind thinking like, man, as we bounce, we probably get hit again. We hit that median, boom, and start spinning, and then we spun some more. And then, by the grace of God, we stopped. We came to a stop, and people stopped. The cars stopped. Because, highway cars be flying. By the grace of God, they didn't nobody hit us, and I think about that all the time. But I know what she's saying, but I didn't die in that, that it was just wow. It was a wild thing to experience, y'all, real wild. Anyway, let's keep on.
And the entire way home after this point, my jaw is dropped. I cannot make sense of what just happened. When I finally get home, I shut the car off. I just sit there for a second, without having to worry about driving or anything. Again, just stunned and trying to figure out how to talk to my wife about it. And then also a thought goes through my head that, oh crap, there's probably something wrong with the car. The front bumper being cracked or, a punctured tire, something. And so as soon as I collect myself and get out of the car and start checking it out, I fully expect to find something, but there was nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean there wasn't even mud or grass stuck in the wheel wells. And like I said, the ground had not frozen yet. There should have been something. There should have been stuff stuck in the grill, especially if I can't even talk about it, like my brain still can't wrap around it. If I were to have just plowed straight through, which I don't know how I would have without sinking into the mud or hitting something else, how did I get all the way through that distance from where I went off the road to the cross street? There would have been something, right? Even though it rattled me so much to get back on the highway, my brain couldn't let it go. It couldn't close the loop. And so I needed the next day to get in my car and go do a quick loop on the highway so I could get off on that exit and see what the exit itself looked like. And there was nothing there. And when I say nothing there, I mean there were no tire tracks, no skid marks, nothing. I'm obviously willing to entertain the possibility that this was just a series of really fortunate coincidences. But as someone who's really interested in quantum physics, I can't shake the feeling that I may have unalived in another timeline and just popped into this one where the accident never happened.
So imagine this. What if every time you were supposed to die, you didn't? What if your consciousness just shifted into another version of reality where you survived? That's the idea behind quantum immortality. The theory suggests that in a universe with infinite possibilities, There's always a version of you that makes it. Every close call, every I should have died moment instead of the end. It's just a jump, a shift into a timeline where you're still here. Now let that sink in, because that means there could be countless versions of your life playing out right now. Different choices, different outcomes, different you. And sometimes people believe they feel it. Those moments where something seems off. Let's watch the stories.
Okay, so I want to talk about quantum immortality, why I think I died in 2023, a version of me died in 2023 in this car accident that I was in, and how our decisions create timelines. So back in 2023, I was in a car accident. I was sitting at a red light, and this woman crossed over 3 barriers and hit me directly in my car door. That's not even the craziest thing about it, though. The craziest thing about it was the fact that in 2023
Quantum immortality. The theory suggests that in a universe with infinite possibilities, there's always a version of you
I had to go back. Y'all. Let's skip it. I had to go back, y'all. Y'all needed to hear this.
makes it. Every close call, every I should have died moment instead of the end. It's just a jump, a shift into a timeline where you're still here. Now let that sink in, because that means there could be countless versions of your life playing out right now. Different choices, different outcomes, different you. And sometimes people believe they feel it. Those moments where something seems off. Let's watch the stories.
Okay, so I want to talk about quantum immortality, why I think I died in 2023, a version of me died in 2023 in this car accident that I was in, and how our decisions create timelines. So
Now, I heard that before, that our decisions create timelines, right? That's different. For those of y'all that don't know, that's quite different, right? It alleviate the scaredness. It alleviate the fear factor of death, right? It does. It does. It alleviate that, and it puts you on a square plate where you have a fair choice to, make wiser decisions. Definitely if you learn this early, right? And I think a lot of reasons that they don't teach this early is because they don't want nobody to know this information. That's why I'm popping it to y'all, right? Simple. At the end of the day, though, just listen deeply at these stories and these testimonies, because maybe you yourself or somebody experienced something like this, or maybe you yourself or someone can relate to a story quite like these. You understand what I'm saying?
back in 2023, I was in a car accident. I was sitting at a red light, and this woman crossed over 3 barriers and hit me directly in my car door. That's not even the craziest thing about it, though. The craziest thing about it was the fact that my boyfriend got into a car accident that same morning, literally less than a few hours before. And I'm convinced that, and I can't say like, oh, I know it wouldn't have happened if I didn't do this, or if this didn't happen, because we won't know. There's no way to know. But I'm convinced that because of certain decisions and like odd synchronicities and just weird encounters that took place from the night before his car accident leading up to my car accident, I'm just convinced that like everything had to happen exactly how it happened. Because at the time, I was on the journey of literally being like, I need to become a different person. I want to become a different person. I was standing on it. And I didn't realize that what I was asking for required an entirely new identity from me. And what a lot of us don't understand is that when you actually decide to become a new person, you do not get to control what your reality chooses to recalibrate and reorganize around your new identity. Because when I was like, I want to become a new bitch, the universe said, oh, bet, all this got to go, though, because that's in alignment with your old identity. And so at the time I was experiencing spiritual awakenings. I was experiencing getting some of my biggest manifestations, but I was also losing so much of what was attached to my old identity, right? So the night before my boyfriend's car accident, this was the main thing. This was the catalyst. His charger broke, and it wasn't bent, it wasn't broken, it just stopped working. Just randomly stopped working. And I remember asking him, I'm like, do you want to charge your phone on my side of the bed? And at first he goes, no. And I remember hearing, I was going to say, are you sure? But something in me was like, don't say anything. And we just sat quiet with each other, maybe like 3 seconds, because he was contemplating, I was contemplating, and then he was like, actually, yeah, fuck it, throw it on the charger. And I was like, okay, bet. So I put his phone on the charger, we go to bed. I'll never forget, it's 7:42 in the morning the next morning. His alarm goes off, but I know it's way too early for him to be getting up to go to work. So I snooze the alarm because he doesn't wake up. I snooze the alarm because I know he has a multiple alarm set. The phone never went back off. Either it went off and we didn't hear it, or it just never went back off. Either way, he woke up. He was late for work. It's like 9 o'clock at this point. He gets up. He rushes out of bed in like 10 minutes. He gets out, leaves in like 10 minutes, right? So I remember feeling so guilty because I'm like, damn, like I literally snoozed the alarm. Like, this is my fault. And I couldn't fall back asleep. And I remember something telling me to check his location. And so I go to check his location and I see that his dot is like stopped. And it looks like he's stopped as he's getting on the highway. And so I text him, I'm like, hey, you good? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, but you made it on the highway though, right? And he's like, no, I just got into a car accident. Like, nigga, what is wrong with you, bro? Like, why didn't you lead with that? Why do I have to pry that out of you? Like, huh? And I was like, oh, like, are you okay? Like, what's up? And he was like, nah, I think I'm good. He had just rear-ended a car getting onto the highway. And so he was like, I'm good. I think I'm good. I think I can drive. I'll be good, but I'll let you know. 10 minutes later, he calls me. He's like, nah, my car is fucked up. I got a tow truck. Can you come get me? And I'm like, all right, bet. So we wait on the side of the road for maybe 2 hours for a tow truck. He calls his insurance. His insurance is supposed to be sending a tow truck. This is the first weird encounter that happened on the way to my accident, right? So finally, after about 2 hours, a tow truck pulls up. Mind you, the tow truck is supposed to be free because it's through insurance. He's like, it's going to be this much. We're like, what? Like, what's going on? Why? Nonetheless, he pays it. We leave. We get back. I remember this is a decision that I made. I asked him, like, do you want pizza? Like, do you want anything to eat before you go into work? Because there's a pizza spot right outside our crib. He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, bet. So I go, I get the pizza. I come back to the crib. We get a call. It's the tow truck from the insurance company asking us where we at, where you at. And we're like, huh? Like, what's going on right now? And we're like, but we just got a tow truck. And he's like,
that's
well,
weird.
Like, I don't know who that was. And so,
hey, that's the weirdest part. That's the weirdest part. She said the tow truck that they originally called back like, hey, yo, where y'all at? The tow truck is on its way. You know, I would have been like, shit, we already had one. We look, sir, sorry, but we already received the tow truck. You feel me? You know, whatever else does need to be said. But a lot of this shit is crazy, y'all. Let's keep going deep. Let's dive, man.
we were like, okay, like, I guess, bro, whatever. Weird, right? So then I'm getting in the car, go to take him to work, right? I remember I have hit the address in my GPS. I missed the exit to get onto the highway. And I'll never forget, I'll go to pull into a parking lot to turn around so I could get back on the highway because it's right there. The parking lot is literally right there. I'm gonna just turn around, get on the highway. I'll never forget my boyfriend. He goes, nah, you're good. Just keep going straight. It's gonna take us out. This way is gonna take you out the same way the highway would. And I remember being like, you sure? And he was like, yeah, we're good. I'm like, all right, bet. And the energy of this entire day was so odd. Like, it's supposed to be free because it's through insurance. Calm, and I was very positive, and it was like pure positivity. Like, it wasn't no like just anything to eat before you go into work because there's a pizza spot right outside our crib.
I had to rewind that. I had to hear what she said. He said, you know, I had to, because she said something about it'll take you out the same way the highway will, some shit, you know, and that sounded like a little subliminal right there. You feel me? If you ask me, that sounded a little subliminal. Okay, let's keep going.
So I go, I get the pizza. I come back to the crib, we get a call. It's the tow truck from the insurance company asking us where we at, where you at? And we're like, huh? Like, what's going on right now? And we're like, but we just got a tow truck. And he's like, well, it wasn't me. Like, I don't know who that was. And so we were like, okay, like, I guess, bro, whatever. Weird, right? So then I'm getting in the car, go to take him to work, right? Remember,
It's quite weird, y'all. Forgive me for the glitches.
hit the address in my GPS. I missed the exit to get onto the highway. And I'll never forget, I'll go to pull into a parking lot to turn around so I could get back on the highway because it's right there. The parking lot is literally right there. I'm gonna just turn around, get on the highway. I'll never forget my boyfriend. He goes, nah, you're good. Just keep going straight. It's gonna take us out. This way is gonna take you out the same way the highway would. And I remember being like, you sure? And he was like, yeah, we're good. I'm like, all right, bet. And the energy of this entire day was so odd. Like, my boyfriend was having financial problems at the time, so it was like, I know that his car being fucked up was just another burden on him. And for some reason, like, I was oddly neutral about everything. I was super calm and I was very positive, and it was like pure positivity. Like, it wasn't no like just being overly positive, like it's okay. Like, it was just, I was in a neutral state, you know. It was very odd. I'll never forget the energy that was like resting within my body as the day continued. And so I remember even I had Andre 3000's new album playing in the car at the time, the Frequency one. And I'll never forget, I remember we pull up, we're 5 minutes away from his restaurant. I'm sitting at the red light. I go to respond to my cousin, and then I go to look up to see if the light's gonna change because I'm the second car in line. I'll never forget, I see something out of my peripheral vision, but my awareness never turns. And I go to look at the light, it's still red. I look down, I go to respond to him, and there's just this, like, if you've ever been in a car accident, you will never forget the crunch of it. Like, the crunch is something that is one of one. It's one of one. I would have paid to see the person behind me's perspective of what the hell it looked like when she hit me. Because to this day, I still don't know how Shamoy hit me. Like, dead ass. I don't know how this bitch from Florida with no insurance hit me, just driving reckless, for real, bro. I don't even know how they didn't, why they didn't arrest her on the scene. Because she crossed over 3 barriers directly into my car. The door, she slammed into my car door. The only thing on my car that was touched was that door. And mind you, I'm going through spiritual awakening after spiritual awakening at this time. You know, I've been very like open about my journey on social media. Like, if you've been with me, you know that I've been manifesting this. Like, the life I'm living right now, I've been manifesting it. I'm talking about, it's been on my vision board since before I even started. And that's what I was getting. I was beginning to live out my vision board at the time. And so I'm, as my reality is like recalibrating, my awareness is recalibrating, my spiritual gifts are heightening. I didn't even know I had the gifts at the time, but I'm getting closer with God, and I'm like, yo, this gotta be a sign, because ain't nothing on my car is touched but this door.
Hey, that's deep and it's different, gang. Now, for those of y'all that's on the spiritual journey, you might know what she's talking about. You understand what I'm saying? If you don't know, then you don't know. But if you know, then you know. But the scariest part about that is, you know, just understanding that they feel like they died. That's crazy. You know, that's crazy. It got to be one of the, you know, most nerve-wracking things. But as they say, conscious allow you to slip into a life, a branched off life that where you still exist and you don't even witness the death. That's ultra deep. You know, that's ultra deep. Just to know how strong and, you know, how strengthened your conscious mind can be. All of this stuff, to me, I don't think these people make it up, you know. And these people coming on TikTok with this now, don't get it twisted. I don't think they making it up. I think a lot of these people is experiencing spiritual awakening, like she said, spiritual ascension, you know, at the end of the day. And I think if you on that spiritual journey to ascend or to go to a higher plane, you know, in life, or, you know, a higher state of conscious mind, I think, yeah, you will experience some of these things. I think you will walk through some of these things, you know, recreate with some of these things. at the end of the day, though, I think it's a wild story. You know, it's true though. It's true. A lot of y'all out there probably don't believe it, but man, you better believe it. You better believe it. You feel me?
This is for me. It's gotta be for me. And I'll never forget, my uncle had passed away maybe a month before. And I'll never forget feeling like, my uncle was a really big dude. And I'll never forget feeling like a bubble over me. In that very moment, it was just like a bubble. And then I just remember being like in shock for a second because the window shattered, but there was no glass on my seat. I wasn't touched. The door stopped right here on me. Like, for real, the door stopped right here on me. And I'll never forget just being in shock, sitting there, because it jerked me to the side, and I'm like processing, like, okay. First of all, my car's fucked up. I know it's done, but what is the odds that my boyfriend got into a car accident the same morning? What's going on? What is going on? And then I'm thinking like, yo, the only reason why I'm here right now, I'm still resting in this state of awareness, is because my awareness did not turn when I seen that car coming. Because if I would have turned when I saw in my vision, because what I saw was her car. If I would have turned and seen a car coming directly at me, it would have been over with. I would have died for real in this reality. Because my brain would have been like, oh, fuck, it's over. Because I couldn't go anywhere. There was a car next to me, a car in front of me, a car behind me. It was over. And I'm convinced a version of me died in that reality, and this version of my awareness got to live out my mission in this one. If you stay with me, I love you. Thanks for witnessing me.
When I was 16 years old, I was in quite literally a fiery bus wreck. I was going through New Mexico in a school bus with a group of like 11 or 12 other girls. We were heading back to Colorado. It's January, so it's snowy, icy, whatever. Basically, the bus just catches a patch of black ice. We spin around on the road, and
Yo, that was a deep story, y'all. That was real deep, y'all. Real. Yo, look, that story was so real. Like I said, man, I mean, to have these type of experiences, man, you will have to understand, and you have to be there to understand. You feel me? Real life. You have to understand and have to be there to understand. Let's keep going though with this next story, because I can only imagine it get deeper and deeper, right? I guarantee it get deeper and deeper. Let's go.
and we roll over into a ditch. The bus, like the way it landed, like stopped rolling, was like on its like roof. Diesel fluids like running down like the top of the school bus. The bus catches fire, literally burns to the ground. We had gone on a trip. We all had like luggage and everything with us, and the adults that we were with were not very competent, so they stacked all of our luggage in the very back of the bus where the emergency exit is. So whenever the bus rolled, we could not get out. Like, we were stuck inside, and all of the luggage and everything was blocking the way out of the bus. It felt like we were in that bus for like a long time trying to get out, like a long time trying to get out. Some people saw the bus, like saw the wreck and everything. They pulled over, and they were able to like come over and like open the emergency exit from the outside and start throwing luggage out and just like pulling all of us girls out. But it felt like so long. It felt like a long time we were stuck in that bus. Brother David, that's the man that was like the dad of the home, whatever, he was like screaming like, that thing's gonna blow, and he was like trying to get all of us like away from the bus. We were all like just disoriented, standing in the snowy field. So some don't have shoes, we don't have jackets, like we're literally just in the fucking snow. It's been like 7-8 years since this happened, and the whole entire story, if you've seen the Cult Story Time, it's incredibly traumatic for me. And so once in a while, I like go on Facebook and I look up the group home leaders' names, and I look up the church we went to, and I just scroll back and back and back and just try to find like posts about, I don't know, it's just validating. I do it a lot. And just like a week or two ago, I was going through and I found a post. It said that the bus burnt to the ground within 20 minutes. I was in that bus for 20 minutes.
Hold up. I gotta go back. Y'all heard how that just chopped up right there. We gotta go back. I need to know what this young lady said, right? I need to know. So do you.
was like trying to get all of us like away from the bus. We were all like just disoriented standing in the snowy field. So some don't have shoes, we don't have jackets, like we're literally just in the fucking snow. It's been like 7-8 years since this happened, and the whole entire story, if you've seen the cult story time, it's incredibly traumatic for me. And so once in a while I like go on Facebook and I look up the group home leaders' names and I look up the church we went to, and I just scroll back and back and back and just try to find like posts about, I don't know, it's just validating. I do it a lot. And just like a week or two ago, I was going through and I found a post. It said that the bus burnt to the ground within 20 minutes. I swear I was in that bus for 20 minutes. Several cars pulled over, got this door opened, threw out all of our luggage and started pulling all of us out. They got all of us out of that bus in 20 minutes. You know what I mean? And we are in the middle of New Mexico, like in the middle of nowhere, okay? And ambulances are able to get to us, and like they load us up in ambulances. The thing is, it was nobody was wearing a uniform or volunteer paramedics, so they were in civilian.
Now hold up. She said they was on that bus 20 minutes. They said the bus burned completely down in 20 minutes, right? That's the scary part right there. If you ask me, that's the scary part. If they said they was on that bus for 20 minutes and the bus burned down within 20 minutes, what the hell really happened then? What's really taking place, gang? Somebody tell me something. Is this quantum physics at full hand scalability? You understand what I'm saying? Could this be quantum physics as full hand scalability? Like, you know, I would love to know, you know, I would. Yeah, I had to refresh that, man, because I wanted to refresh the start. But that's deep, you know, and I wonder what story this is, because she said if we seen a story, you know, I might even want to look this story up. Let me see something though.
Every time it's incredibly traumatic for me. And so once in a while people saw the bus, like saw the wreck and everything. They pulled over and they were able to like come over and like open the emergency exit from the outside and start throwing luggage out and just like pulling all of us girls out. But it felt like so long. It felt like a long time we were stuck in that bus. Brother David, that's the man that was like the dad of the home, whatever, he was like screaming like that thing's gonna blow, and he was like trying to get all of us like away from the bus. We were all like just disoriented standing in the snowy field. So some don't have shoes, we don't have jackets, like we're literally just in the fucking snow. It's been like 7-8 years since this happened, and the whole entire story, if you've seen the cult story time, it's incredibly traumatic for me. And so once in a while I like go on Facebook and I look up the group home leaders' names and I look up the church we went to, and I just scroll back and back and back and just try to find like posts about, I don't know, it's just validating. I do it a lot. And just like a week or two ago, I was going through and I found a post. It said that the bus burnt to the ground within 20 minutes. I swear I was in that bus for 20 minutes. Several cars pulled over, got this door opened, threw out all of our luggage and started pulling all of us out. They got all of us out of that bus in 20 minutes. You know what I mean? And we are in the middle of New Mexico, like in the middle of nowhere, okay? And ambulances are able to get to us, and like they load us up in ambulances. The thing is, nobody was wearing a uniform or volunteer paramedics. So they were in civilian clothes. We got taken to a volunteer hospital. It's not an actual hospital. It's just this really tiny hospital with apparently a bunch of just volunteer employees. And then we get home. We get home in the evening back to the house that we lived at, and my parents are there. After a year, they left me for a year in a different state, and they were there back to pick me up that night. I get all my stuff, I go with my parents, and after a year of being in this hellhole, I finally go home. And when I tell you, from the second we got into my dad's truck, we never.
Now, I'm looking at the story. I found the story. It's called The Cold Story Times New Mexico Bus Crash. It's called The Story Time Video Regarding the New Mexico Bus Crash. Is a viral YouTube recount from survivor Tayeto describing the harrowing August 2018 crash on Interstate 40 near Thorrey in New Mexico. 8 people died after a semi-truck suffered a blown tire across the median and struck a Greyhound bus. So, several passengers recounted waking up to a large hole in the passenger side of the bus, and one widely reported miracle, a pregnant survivor named Estefania went into labor shortly after the crash and safely gave birth to twins.
We have ACs in stock and financing.
Oh, we're booking summer.com.
There was one person hanging out the window. Debris from the wreckage littered this stretch of Interstate 40. Survivors and bystanders turned into first responders, climbing ladders with emergency crews to reach passengers still trapped inside. Chris Jones stopped to help with the rescue.
It was horrifying. Like, I've never actually seen in my life a bus look like a ripped open sardine can.
Rachel Cunningham was on board the Greyhound bus. She said she was asleep when the crash happened and woke up to a gaping hole in the bus's passenger side.
Carrying these people with the paramedics into ambulances. My experience, what I've seen today, I mean, some stuff that I only thought I'd end up seeing on TV.
This is the second deadly crash involving a bus and a semi-truck in New Mexico this summer. In July, 3 people were killed when a passenger bus rolled into oncoming traffic. Thursday's incident shut down part of Interstate 40 for nearly 8 hours as crews worked into the night to clear the wreck. As you can imagine, the scene down there is so it's going to take
So we see right there that, you know, that's the accident, right? And I want to know the names of the victims. See, that's what I want to get to, because I'm gonna ask this co-pilot, what was the names of the victims? What's the names of the victims that died, right? Because we want to get to the bottom of this, right, chat? That's what we're here for. That's what I'm here for. I don't know about y'all, but bitch, I'm here to get to the bottom of these, you know, these theories and everything like that. I want to know. Right now, if you give me this young lady name who's speaking right now on this TikTok video, that's gonna be something else. It said Luis Alvarez. It said the 5 publicly identified victims among the 8 people who died in the Greyhound. Okay. It gave me 5 names. So I'm gonna read the 5 names off first before I even tell it. I need, you know. So it says Luis Alvarez, 49 or 50 years old, of Santa Teresa, New Mexico, the Greyhound bus driver. Sadie Thomas, 50, of Farmington, New Mexico. Charla Bahi, 34 years old. Terry Mason, 45 years old. Veronica Jean Williams, 49 years old. So I want to know the other people. Missing names. Yeah, because it's deep, right? The remaining victims identified by the New Mexico Office of the Medical Investigator are Emmett Stoker, Raymond Michael, and Albert, and a third passenger whose name was intentionally withheld from the public. Why? This was an unnamed male passenger whose identity was officially confirmed by authorities but kept confidential. Officials chose not to release his name because they believed he was likely experiencing homelessness and they were preserving his privacy. But if he experiencing homelessness, why wouldn't you want his name to be out there so he can get some help like that? Well, I want to know this young lady name now. It made me want to do my deep search on her TikTok, and I need to know her name or whatever, whatnot. We finna dive back into this video though, because it's getting juicier.
To the ground within 20 minutes. I swear I was in that bus for 20 minutes. Several cars pulled over, got this door open, threw out all of our luggage, and started pulling all of us out. They got all of us out of that bus in 20 minutes. You know what I mean? And we are in the middle of New Mexico, like in the middle of nowhere, okay? And ambulances are able to get to us, and like they load us up in ambulances. The thing is, nobody was wearing a uniform or volunteer paramedics. So they were in civilian clothes. We got taken to a volunteer hospital. It's not an actual hospital, it's just this really tiny hospital with apparently a bunch of just volunteer employees. And then we get home in the evening back to the house that we lived at, and my parents are there. After a year, they left me for a year in a different state, and they were there back to pick me up that night. I get all my stuff, I go with my parents, and after a year of being in this hellhole, I finally go home. And when I tell you, from the second we got into my dad's truck, we never spoke about the girls' home ever again. We never spoke about the girls' home ever again. It is like it didn't exist. It's like it never happened. I can't find anything like on the internet about it. All I can find is like a couple Facebook posts just like within the church. Seeing that post, it burned to the ground within 20 minutes, was just such a like, did it? Because it really felt like I was in there for 20 minutes. Apparently we were only in there for like minutes, and it just doesn't seem, I don't know, seems weird.
I didn't have anything broken. I'd start going through bodies and make sure everybody's all right. There should have been 10 crosses on the side of the road. No doubt.
Back in 2023, I got into a really bad car accident, and I crashed into a bear on a back road in Florida.
So I don't know. I might have found it. Let me go back. I wondered if she said in 1999, because I found the bus. No, similar to the 2000. This bus did not burn down the church today. Actually burned down 2019. National news. So did she say July 2019? Let me see. I gotta go back, y'all.
Years since this happened, and the whole entire story, if you've seen the cult story time, it's incredibly, it was like
I wanna know
everything with us and the people, the adults that we were with.
Being in shock, sitting there, because it jerked me to the side, and I'm like processing, like, okay.
People, the bus, like the way it lay rolling was, it's like running down like the top of the school bus. The bus catches.
But there was no glass in my seat. I wasn't
heading back to Colorado. It's January, so it's snowy, icy, whatever. Basically, the bus just catches a patch of black ice. We spin around on the road, and then we roll over into a ditch. The bus, like the way it landed, like stopped rolling, was like on its like roof.
Because my brain would have been like, oh, fuck, it's over. Because I couldn't go anywhere. There was a car next to me, a car in front of me, a car behind me. It was over. And I'm convinced a version of me died in that reality, and this version of my awareness got to live out my mission in this one. If you stay with me, I love you. Thanks for witnessing me.
When I was 16 years old, I was in quite literally a fiery bus wreck. I was going through New Mexico in a school bus with a group of like 11 or 12 other girls. We were heading back to Colorado. It's January, so it's snowy, icy, whatever. Basically, the bus just catches a patch of black ice. We spin around on the road, and then we roll over into a ditch. The bus, like the way it landed, like stopped rolling, was like on its like roof. Diesel fluids like running down like the top of the school bus. The bus catches fire, literally burns to the ground. We had gone on a trip. We all had like luggage and everything with us, and the adults that we were with were not very competent, so they stacked all of our luggage in the very back of the bus where the emergency exit is. So whenever the bus rolled, we could not get out. Like, we were stuck inside, and all of the luggage and everything was blocking the way out of the bus. It felt like we were in that bus for like a long time trying to get out, like a long time trying to get out. Some people saw the bus, like saw the wreck and everything. They pulled over and they were able to like come over and like open the emergency exit from the outside and start throwing luggage out.
Y'all, it's so many crashes that they got, with girls. Summer Pinson was killed and 11 other passengers were hospitalized. The Greyhound bus. Okay. They said a 13-year-old girl, Summer. I don't know, but I know, let me see what this look like. Summer Pinson. Because a lot of shit that's taking place out here, man, in the world, a lot of y'all be thinking it's crazy. And this the girl that died. But we'll never know if that was, her with, it's a deep ball game.
And just like pulling all of us girls out. But it felt like so long. It felt like a long time we were stuck in that bus. Brother David, that's the man that was like the dad of the home, whatever. He was like screaming like that thing's gonna blow, and he was like trying to get all of us like away from the bus. We were all like just disoriented standing in the snowy field. So some don't have shoes, we don't have jackets, like we're literally just in the fucking snow. It's been like 7-8 years since this happened, and the whole entire story, if you've seen the cult story time, it's incredibly traumatic for me. And so once in a while I like go on Facebook and I look up the group home leaders' names and I look up the church we went to, and I just scroll back and back and back and just try to find like posts about, I don't know, it's just validating. I do it a lot. And just like a week or two ago, I was going through and I found a post. It said that the bus burnt to the ground within. Several cars pulled over, got this door opened, threw out all of our luggage, and started pulling all of us out. They got all of us out of that bus in minutes. You know what I mean? And we were in the middle of New Mexico, like and
Hey, I don't know what the fuck is doing. Honestly, I don't know what the fuck is doing. I hate when it glitch like that, but we finna keep going. Close to the time that Brother David think that much real world, the Minneapolis. No, see, and then they take you somewhere else when you do look it up. Like, they take you way outside of the ring you're supposed to be in game. Like, what the fuck is wrong with Google? Google, you a dick. That's why don't nobody be fucking with you. Who what's the nigga name move around? Yeah, the nigga, make ace boxes. Nigga, you need to fix your Google shit, gang. Every time we searching up some shit, that shit always give us an issue or problem. How ass nigga, we know what's going on. Bitch ass nigga, we know what you're doing. How ass? Oh my mama. Let's keep going.
It was, nobody was wearing a uniform. They were volunteer paramedics. So they were in civilian clothes. We got taken to a volunteer hospital. It's not an actual hospital. It's just this really tiny hospital with apparently a bunch of just volunteer employees. And then we get home in the evening back to the house that we lived at. And my parents are there. After a year, they left me for a year in a different state, and they were there back to pick me up that night. I get all my stuff, I go with my parents, and after a year of being in this hellhole, I finally go home. And when I tell you, from the second we got into my dad's truck, we never spoke about the girls' home ever again. We never spoke about the girls' home ever again. It is like it didn't exist. It's like it never happened. I can't find anything like on the internet about it. All I can find is like a couple Facebook posts just like within the church. Seeing that post, it burned to the ground within 20 minutes, was just such a like, did it? Because it really felt like I was in there for 20 minutes. Apparently we were only in there for like minutes, and it just doesn't seem, I don't know, it seems weird.
I didn't have anything broken. I'd start going through bodies and make sure everybody's all right. There should have been 10 crosses on the side of the road. No doubt.
Back in 2023, I got into a really bad car accident and I crashed into a bear on a back road in Florida, and I'm almost 100% certain that I died and experienced quantum immortality. I was in the process of moving from Daytona to Tampa, and I was traveling on a back road. There was literally no other traffic on this road except me. So I was going pretty fast down it, and I never thought to think that there would be black bears in Florida. This was something that I just literally didn't know because I'm not a native to there, so I had no clue. Since there was no other traffic with me on that back road, I was going probably like 70 miles per hour, like 65, 70. I remember looking at my gauge, and it's like right in front of me on my dashboard, and it was like 60 something. So like 70, like in that range. That's how fast I was going. Literally 1 second later, a black bear runs directly across my car. And I feel like it was some key moments that I remember. At first, I had no idea what the fuck I was even looking at. I've never seen a bear before, and this bear was massive. It wasn't like some cutesy little baby. Like, that shit was full grown, might as well have crashed into another car. There was a moment where when I was crashing into it, I literally was like looking directly into its eye, and I felt like at that point, I literally like lost my life. I felt like that was my last like breath. The feeling that I felt the second that I crashed into the bear was like I was being unplugged and ripped from this reality. I literally could not access anything. Everything became so untangible, it wasn't even funny. I'm pretty sure I died on impact, but my soul traveled on to where I'm at now, which is another like parallel universe, which is exactly the same, but just a little bit different. When I crashed into the bear, there was a brief moment where I was out of body. I could literally see what looked like to be just me in the driver's seat, but I'm like, who the fuck is driving this car? Like, I was so surprised that my airbags didn't come out either. It doesn't make any sense. Like, if you're going about 70 miles per hour and you crash into anything, like, your airbags should come out. There's nothing wrong with my airbags. Like, literally, it doesn't make any sense. It was like every single thing stopped and I was basically nowhere. It was like purgatory, and I genuinely did not exist anymore in that timeline, and I was literally being placed into another. My soul was like looking for another place to go. It felt like I don't even know, like it was like this really crazy jolt. It was just like a jolt of like, I don't know, like in that moment I knew. And anybody who's ever had like a near-death experience knows exactly what I'm talking about. Like that, I knew, like I was like, I just died. Like that was it. And the first thing that I did was panic. So I'm thinking like, I'm not ready to go. Like this was an accident. I don't want to. Like my mom is gonna be so upset. And I was like, oh my God. Like that's all I was thinking was like, no, like I'm just not ready. I'm not ready. And I was still driving my car after this. Like my car was beyond fucked up. Like literally beyond fucked up. It was insane. The music stopped. I hit the bear so hard that my phone immediately got sent into SOS mode, and I couldn't open it. I kept putting in my password, but I could not get into my phone. I wanted to call my mom so bad, but it was like I literally was being like torn away from that reality, and I just didn't exist anymore. Like there was no music on my car. Like it just, everything stopped. Everything was like a standstill. It stopped. It was literally like that was the split decision. Like if I were to accept what happened, I feel like I would have went somewhere different, but I was so shaken up and I was so worried about like my mom that I immediately consciously knew that I wasn't ready to like let this be the end of my story. I continued to drive because I couldn't get into my phone. So I just continued to just keep driving and hope that like my phone will eventually like let me call somebody or something. Literally I drove probably for about a mile, and I just felt so like completely out of body. Like it didn't even seem real at that point. Like it didn't. And as soon as I could make a phone call, like I feel like everything was just slightly different. Like literally stores that I thought were stores are different stores. Like stores that I've been driving past like my whole life when I visited back to my hometown are different. I'm like, there was this tobacco shop that I literally went to all the time, and it had a different name. I'm like, when did y'all change your sign? They were like, what are you talking about? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, what are you talking about? Like, it's been this way. I'm like, it really hasn't been that way. Like that entire experience has like shifted my entire reality, and like for some reason like I couldn't make peace with it for the longest time. I felt like genuinely somewhere else I was being grieved, and like our souls literally do get the option to just move on into a parallel universe, which is exactly the same as the last one, or you can, you know, go somewhere different. I don't know, but
this story deals with a possible timeline jump. It came from someone named Elizabeth, and she says, I drowned when I was 15, and I still remember every detail 15 years later.
Hey, that was deep. You know, that was deep because, like I said, she explained hers vividly. You understand what I'm saying? She explained her story so vividly to the point that could have scared a motherfucker, right? But I love that. That's what I love. You hear me? That's what my podcast stand for. It don't stand to scare people, but it stand more so to wake people up, to put your mind in alignment with, you feel me, ascension. Put your mind in alignment with conscious ascension and consciously understanding who we truly are. Now, this next story, I don't know. I haven't watched this full thing, you know, but I got a few more that I want you guys to see. But this next one is quite deep too. Let's dive into it. You feel me? As we.
She says, I know how impossible that sounds, but I can't make sense of what happened to me. She said today she's 37 years old. This happened when she was 15 in 2000. She can still remember every detail vividly as if it happened yesterday. I thought she wrote this in a very eloquent way, and so I do this story word for word as opposed to putting it in my own. I want to make the detail correct. This is what she said. Every summer at Mandela, they had a pretty big in-ground pool that had been around as long as I can remember. Over the years, it became somewhat of a routine. Whenever school let out for summer vacation, Derek and I would spend a few weekends at their house to enjoy the summer and make use of their pool as much as we could. They had a curling slide that required a ladder, as it was roughly 12 feet tall, and a diving board near the deep end of the pool. To us, it was better than going to a water park because it was private, secluded, and fenced in. Pretty much a dream come true for any kid who loved to do a cannonball from a running start. I should preface this by saying Derek and I were, and are still, excellent swimmers. It was in that very pool I learned how to swim as a kid and kept improving the more time we spent there. The day in question was just like any other. Derek had just gotten out of the pool to dry off and resume playing Pokemon on his Game Boy. There were pool chairs and tables lined up on the side, and I distinctly remember Derek sitting on the far corner as I stepped up to the diving board. Before I jumped in, I remember looking at the sky and seeing storm clouds approaching. They were exceptionally dark in some areas, so I figured I'd take one more dive before it started to rain. I jumped in, hit the bottom of the pool, and remembered inhaling from impact, maybe a natural reaction at the time. I'm still not sure why I recall doing that. I wasn't an idiot when it came to swimming and never had any issues diving before. When I opened my eyes, I half expected to find myself coughing up water at the surface, but I didn't. I didn't see anything except darkness. Not just darkness, but pure, unfiltered black in every direction. I distinctly remember thinking, that's weird, are my eyes still closed? I reached out my hand but couldn't see it. I felt myself moving and even felt myself blinking at one point, but I still couldn't see anything, which in hindsight should have freaked me out. But it didn't. In fact, it was the calmest and most relaxed I'd ever felt in my life. It felt like I was floating, but there was no weight to my body, at least not that I remember. I could still feel the sensation of my arms and legs, but I didn't feel anything beneath me, and I accepted it without any fear or worry. I didn't feel any pain, I didn't feel an ounce of fear, but I remember thinking, or maybe even saying out loud, so, this is what death feels like? Feels kind of nice if it is. I can't remember the last time I ever felt so calm. It was half a joke, half acceptance. The sensation of floating without a care in the world lasted for what only felt like a few minutes. long enough to take in every sensation and notice how odd it was that I couldn't see any part of myself, no matter how many times I put my hands out in front of me. Suddenly, all the blackness started flickering pink and red in the distance. It was subtle at first, but then that's all I could see, a reddish pink glow, and that's when my eyes actually started to hurt. All I can say about what happened next is that I felt like all the pain and fear I should have been feeling hit me all at once. My throat hurt, my stomach hurt, my head hurt, my eyes hurt, and I could feel my body laying on a rough, hard surface. I opened my eyes, remembering how odd it was that I suddenly could. When I did, I didn't see black anymore. I saw bright blue in almost every direction, which I eventually realized was the sky directly above me. There were no clouds, no storm approaching, nothing. It was a normal, regular, sunny summer day, except I wasn't in the pool anymore, and Derek wasn't in the chair with his Game Boy. I coughed up some water, but not nearly as much as I expected. And aside from that, the rest of me was completely dry. I was lying on the side of the pool, maybe an arm's length away. I started wondering how on earth I'd managed to get myself out of the water, not to mention how long I'd been lying there in the sun. Suddenly, I heard the screen door behind me open. It was Derek, looking half concerned and half relieved. From what I recall in the haze of confusion, Derek had gone to find an adult, and they eventually came out only to find me very much alive and not in need of medical assistance. Derek asked if I was okay, and I reassured him I was. Physically, I felt fine, as if I'd only swallowed a mouthful of pool water. I'm not going to lie, a small part of me was pissed off for going from such an extreme sense of calm to absolute disorientation and confusion within a matter of minutes. When I asked my brother what happened, he seemed just as confused as I was. In a split second, Derek went from looking as concerned as anyone should be after watching their sibling drown to confused and annoyed that I was even asking questions. Now, if it wasn't weird already, here's where it gets very strange. She says, the fact that there were no clouds in the sky, let alone the dark impending storm clouds I distinctly remember, was already weird enough to make me uneasy. I don't know how else to explain it, but it almost felt like I wasn't supposed to be there. It felt off, but only in subtle ways at first. It was only after I realized the time on the clock was different from the last time I saw it that I started to feel extremely uneasy. I remember taking the final dive in the late afternoon around 4 or 5 p.m. However, now the clock showed just past 11:30 a.m. I felt like I was either going crazy or had had one of the most vivid visceral dreams of my entire life. And over the years, I tried to ignore it, but there hadn't been a year of my life since that day where I haven't thought about it. It was impossible to explain that phenomenon without sounding insane. That is, until I heard one of your stories about a girl who went on a trip and suddenly remembered everyone around her disappearing. Her account of looking everywhere for her friends, only to find them back at their cabin, acting as if she hadn't been missing for an entire day, compelled me not only to share this story with you, but also start piecing together some of the missing parts on my own. At that time, I wasn't aware of the multiverse theory, time jumps, glitches in the matrix, or anything of the sort. But now that I've heard more stories of people having similar experiences, I can't help but question whether that period of floating in darkness was me slipping into the nearest timeline. Not everything matches the original, of course, but it's close enough not to make me feel like an outsider in my own life story. When I heard about the story of that girl on that trip, it made every memory of that day come flooding back. I decided right then and there to call my brother and ask him directly if he ever remembered me drowning when we were teenagers at Grandma's pool. I'd already warned him beforehand that what I was about to ask him was going to sound insane, but to please go with me on this. He paused for a moment on the phone and said, no, I think I'd remember something as traumatic as my sister drowning right in front of me. But the thing is, in that previous timeline, he did watch me drown. He was the only other person in the area when it happened. It's a detail I will never forget as long as I live. I can't remember which adults were in the house when it happened, but there was definitely some kind of supervision. The adults, like my grandparents, would usually be in the living room whenever we swam, only occasionally coming outside to check if we needed anything. The majority of the pool was visible from there. A large sliding glass door took up more than half the wall, so making sure we were okay usually didn't require more than a quick glance. Even when the glass door was closed, the pool was close enough to hear anyone outside. I know full well that none of the adults in that house would have left Derek and I unsupervised, no matter how much trust they had in us or how skilled we were at swimming. Which begs the question, why was nobody else except Derek there before I jumped off the diving board? Maybe they were inside and I just couldn't see them. Or maybe the one time they trusted us to be fine was the one time everything went horribly wrong. My brother was slightly skeptical at first when I told him, but he started believing me more and more with every new detail I shared. I told him what game he'd been playing, the color of his Game Boy, the color of his swimming trunks, everything I recalled, looking only moments before jumping into the pool checked out. He said he remembers the game, the Game Boy, even the shorts, but doesn't remember me drowning. When I told him about hearing your story about the girl on the trip, he admitted it seemed possible. I may have jumped timelines. He seemed pretty deep in thought as he processed it. I told him, you do realize that if I drown in that time you watched happen, I mean only it really hit him. My brother and I are extremely close, only 17 months apart, and always have been. He said the thought of watching me drown would have undoubtedly left him scarred and traumatized, enough for it to, quote, likely do something stupid later on just to escape all the guilt, which of course breaks my heart. It scares me to think my brother might have done that, wherever that timeline exists. But between all the constant migraines he gets on the right side of his head and the Mandela effects we both share, it would surprise me that.
So first off, with all this glitch, and I hate that because these are good stories too, gang. You hear me? These are good stories, and I gotta give them a round of applause to be able to even come, and telling stories to other people. You feel me? Without feeling crazy, because a lot of times people try to make you feel crazy for telling your story or telling your testimony. You hear me? Let me see where we at. We at okay. I want to see if I can get ahead just a tad bit. Okay. All right. Let's dive, y'all.
Into another reality or timeline and continue living your life. So listen to this story. So this man was working at his local gas station, and he said he was the only one at the store walking to.
I hate that with a passion. I hate that with a passion. It makes me angry. At the end of the day, maybe it's the connection. I know the connection do get a little funky. Right? Yes, the connection always get like that, but it's okay. How about this? This is what I do. I go feed y'all all that at once. You know what I'm talking about? That's 34 minutes into that video. This what I am going to do. What I am going to do is I'm gonna stop right there. I'm gonna stop right there and I'm gonna keep it funky because that's a whole nother hour for a whole nother moment for you guys, right? That's a whole nother hour for a different moment for you guys. So that's what we're gonna do, man. If any of those stories resonated with you, if you liked any of those stories, if you could relate with some of those, if some of your family members told you something like that, you understand what I'm saying, and you want to talk about it, you can hit me up in my comment section. You can hit me up in my inbox on my YouTube channel, and I can pull you on a platform, you feel me, give you a chance to tell your story. If that's something that you cool with, if you don't mind, giving your story, it's no pressure, it's no force. But other than that, I thank y'all. I love each and every one of y'all. Y'all could have been anywhere else, but instead you choose to be right here watching this video. You feel me? Throughout all the glitches and everything else. I'm in the midst of moving, in the midst of actually moving into our own home. You feel me? We have finally purchased the home. I need a round of applause. We'll be closing on the 16th. So you feel me? Shout out to me and my wife and my family, my 3 kids. Shout out to us for that. You feel me? For sticking it out together and being strong enough to manage. You understand what I'm saying? And make it that far. Other than that, man, I love each and every one of y'all. Y'all make sure y'all love each and every one of your family members. Do what you got to do to support each other, uplift each other. You understand what I'm saying? That's what I'm always about. That's what my podcast is going to stay about. You feel me? I am out.